Good afternoon, and we're still on the Pitcher Festival. With me today, I have three beautiful women, happy people as you can see, and I'm the minority. I'm the minority in the midst of these beautiful women here. We'll be talking about finding happiness. And this is about a campaign that we launched for Maltina last year. With me today, we're privileged to have a client who played a critical role in bringing this to life, in the person of Ngonadi-Nkwoji, who is the marketing manager, communications and sponsorship, Nigerian Breweries, PLC. Good to have you on board. Yeah. Okay, I also have here Jumoke Akinyele, who is the business lead for Arck and also the lead on the Maltina business from our side, who's been very active in, shepherding everybody, let me put it that way, and making it happen from the beginning to where we are now. And not the least, of course, we have Lisbeth Ughoro, who is the copy group head on this account. So, ladies, it's a pleasure to have you here on this panel. And I look forward to a very exciting and happy discussion because we're talking happiness, basically. Yes. So, like I said, Maltina has been around for over 40 years, if I'm not wrong. So, a lot of us grew up knowing Maltina. A lot of us were born after Maltina was born. I'm not trying to say anything to anybody on this panel, but it means that Maltina has been part of our lives for quite a long time. And I remember very well, Maltina was always about family. I remember Maltina moment. It's always about feel good and all of those things. It's been a big pioneer with regards to how the malt category communicates and what we've known malt to be. And it's still around, going strong, which is good. So inheriting such a big legacy is not always easy for any agency. And I remember past 5-6 years, you could crystallize the entire thing on Maltina into the platform of happiness. And at the time we were invited for the pitch, the agency came back and still said, oh, let's continue with happiness. We thought that was the way to go. Benefit of hindsight, it might be risky as well because client also has the right to say, hey, tell us something new. We've always been talking happiness, but we were convinced about happiness. And we sold it and we bought it. And here we are talking happiness today. So what made you stick to happiness, Ngozi?
The simple answer would be that conversation about the fact that Nigerians are the happiest people, which we all now know is not true. But at the time there was all this data about happiness being a touch point for us. And because malt is a very Nigerian and maybe Latin American beverage, so there's not a lot of best practices that you can pull, unlike beer or cider or many other adjacent categories. And so Maltina is the biggest malt brand in Nigeria, and we've built it all these years on exactly happiness. And we felt like happiness could evolve, right? What happiness meant to my mom is different from what happiness means to me. Happiness is not a destination, but it's a journey, and it continues and continues. And we think the fact that we're already known for this thing, why try to completely reinvent the wheel? Why not stick to happiness, but find a way for it to mean something to the consumers of today, the younger people. So happiness made sense. We also had Coca-Cola telling us something different and something new about happiness. So, and based on the campaigns that we've created, I think it was the right choice to make. So, yeah.
Okay, lovely. So, Jumoke, you were in the thick of this, and I know for sure, before going back to the client, and it was the last thing we did for that year, I remember very well. That was the end of 2018. We did talk to consumers, real consumers, for the pitch and beyond the pitch. So just give us a little bit of a background to some insights into what led to why we were so convinced. What did people tell us? Yes, there's this thing about Nigerians being happiest people and all that. I mean, we know that may not be true in entirety, but there's still some element of truth in the fact that ordinarily, under other circumstances, some of us should have ended up, somewhere in Yaba or so, but we still carry on whichever way. So there might be some truth to that, you know, even though the data may not be accurate. So what did we pick up talking to people, Jumoke?
Hello?
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, we can.
Yes. Okay. So I think before we even arrived at what the communication line and the expressions should be, we wanted to understand what happiness would mean to these guys, because of course the brand has always been speaking happiness and things like that, and also why they would choose Maltina over all the other malt brands. And one of the things that jumped out was the fact that a lot of times we talk about happiness in the big things. We talk about happiness in the fact that, oh, it's when I get a lottery, win a lottery, when I get my new job, when my wife gives birth, or when something really major happens is when I feel happiness. But then from speaking to consumers, we realized that happiness is actually really in those simple things that we usually would overlook, and it's very diverse anyways. So happiness could mean getting back home from work and I just have that warm bed to lie down on, or just music, or the fact that the skies are clear today, there's no rain. I know it's been raining hellish in Lagos these days. So those little moments, those little things that we usually would overlook and not make sense with are the things that consumers spoke to us about as regards what happiness would be to them.
Okay, thank you very much. So, I mean, I like to, you know, play around the web and find things here and there. So I'm sharing my screen now. Yesterday, I was on WeTransfer and I saw these particular quotes. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, and it said something around the fact that, sorry, please. So somebody was quoted as saying this, and I was like, wow, you know, who could have thought? Lately, I've been trying to find happiness in the little things in my everyday life. I want to be living in the present. This is almost a year after we came up with our campaign. And I thought, what a big coincidence. So Elizabeth, from a creative point of view, I mean, how did we distill these little things of the thing? Taking into consideration also that the malt category has been defined by high energy and a couple of things the like of that. And suddenly we have this campaign that kind of slows it down a little bit. You know, what led to that? And I'm going to play, you know, the commercials a little bit after that. Carry on, please.
Okay. I think it's from. I'll start from where Jumoke stopped. How we ask people, like most campaigns anyway, you start with your insights and your research. So it's whatever you get from those whatever insights you glean or you get from your research, that's what you work with. And since we had a very, very simple yet profound insight that the seemingly bite-sized happiness that's around us, those are the things we can actually tap from. Like she said, oh, someone just get, like some of the things we explored in our creatives and some of the videos we shared, that's something that can be as simple as just, you know, taking off your wig or strapping your, so this is the thing. We didn't really have to go to the moon, you know, as how we say, oh, there's happiness all around us. We just use the things that are very, very relatable, you know, things that are very, very much around us. And we worked with that because sometimes the best ideas are the ones that are really easy and the ones that are around you that people can actually relate with. So those are some of the, you know, how we're able to just distill.
Thank you very much. So we've spoken a lot about this. So I'm just going to move on and show one or two things so we don't just talk and talk, let people see where we I know we started with the teasers, which were online. I'm just going to play some of that now. Just a minute, please. Okay, so we had this, I think, if I'm not wrong.
After you've had a long day, you appreciate the little pleasures more. They are all at all. Because as we say, I can't come and go and kill myself.
So this was some kind of teaser, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it was a teaser.
Yes, we had a couple of them in that regard as well. I'm trying to save some time. But before I play the commercials now, I want to ask Ngozi this. I mean, these are things we know. These are nuances we all live with. But you don't see so many brands, you know, being bold enough to show some of the things that we, you know, the woman taking off her wig and stuff the like of that. You want to be clean and proper. You don't want to, you know, ruffle feathers in any way. I mean, what made it happen for you? And being a woman at that, you know, was that a difficult thing to do?
No, Lanre, watching this teaser reminds me how much fun we had making this campaign. It was really a lot of fun. I remember, and it was the first thing that we worked on with the agency in the new partnership. And I remember telling the agency, it's easier for me to pull you back than for me to bring you up. So please push the button and let me try to bring you back. When we finally cracked happiness in the little things, which I absolutely love, because we said that Nigeria, it was just beautiful. That's why I love research. You know, the conversation was that what I said about happiness is not a destination. And that the insight is that we are so busy with life. You know, that you wait until the weekend and there's this big old one bear and then you can hang with people. Or you wait until my 35th birthday or my 40th or 50th, you know, these landmarks. But that in life, what if you appreciate just the small things? The fact that when you get home as a woman, you can unhook your bra. You know that as a kid, you can just find out. We were all talking about it. And I always say to people in the creative industry that when you get it, everybody will feel it. Everybody was like, yes, yes. And so when they started things like removing of wig, everyone was like, yes. And I remember there was one where people were like, because sometimes your stomach will hold you and you release a fart.
I thought you wouldn't go there. I remember that as well.
I said, not while I'm on the brand. That was,
that was really far.
So I'm just saying that to say that there were times when we all agreed.
Yes.
And there were times when I had to pull the agency back, but it was good because it is real. And maybe we were not daring enough. Maybe we should have gone for that. But no, but for me, I think that is where you have to merge the science and the art and the experience as well, because there are insights that are true, but they are true where you internalize them versus that you want to show people. So people have that moment and they want to let out the fire, but you don't want people to know that you did.
Yeah. Well, happiness is good that nobody got you.
Happiness is good that you did it and nobody knew. So we don't want to now put it on TV. That was by the way, if you do this, we all, you know, so. But for me, I think the summary of the answer is that they were human truths.
Lovely, lovely.
Everything.
So let me play the first commercial in that regard, and we'll take it from there. Just this. Here we go.
Good to see your face again. It's been a very crazy day. The joyous feeling in the air when rain falls on a sunny day. Happy, yeah. Let the stars, let them roll. 'Cause I was born to be happy. Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina. Maltina, share happiness.
Good to see this again, I must say. I'm going to move on to the next one after this. Yes, this is the one I know. I mean, I can relate with this. I have a son who craved these, first two strands or thereabouts so much. I mean, this pandemic is grown in a fuller one. He had to shave it at some point. So I know what this means.
Wow.
you know, so let me play the beard gang.
It's the little things that brightens your life. It's the little moments that we share. Happy, yeah. Let the stars, let the room. Outside was born to be happy. Lead me to where I belong.
Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina. Maltina, share happiness.
Lovely. So I'm going to play the two going forward, but I just want to hear from Lizzie. How was this, writing these, being in the middle of that, taking it from, I mean, I'm sure Ngozi will have thoughts on Lizzie and, you know, how Lizzie presented these and how she took Diana idea all through everything. How was this for you, Lizzie, writing this? Was this one of those happy moments for you as a writer?
Yeah, first off, it was, so we had a team of writers. I was the head of the copy team, but there was me, there was Mary, there was Munduni at the very beginning. So we were like 4 or 5 of us, you know, came together to write the story. You know, we're all tasked to go and think. You know, we already had the key insights. What are the things people started suggesting? So this was like largely a team effort. You know, we all came together and people came up with all sorts of crazy suggestions. We had a whole lot, you know, but it was people. Oh, you know what happened? Can you just think of something that happened to you? Think of a little brother you had. I remember one particular story Dilly shared, and it was. So we all thought about things that happened to us. We thought about things that happened to our cousins, things we saw on the road, things. So the stories came from everywhere. It was very exciting, you know, because by nature of it, it's a very happy campaign. So people are very happy to come up with stories. We even asked some of our teammates, asked some of our colleagues. So largely it helped a lot, and everybody just came together and said, hey, okay, people are contributing their own quota. And we just had a whole list, and we said, okay, let's use this. So that's how we're able to, you know, come up with a pool of happy ideas for stories. So largely that's how we did it.
Okay, so let's continue on that happy note. I mean, I like to, because again, I think the beauty of that campaign also was the fact that it was able to reach out to different demographics, you know, especially the young, the teenagers, and other parts of the country, as reflected in this one I'm about to. And there are things we just tend to take for granted, as you'll find in this particular one, the hitch, if you remember very well. Just a second, hitch, right? Almost, sorry. Okay.
It's the little things that brightens your life. It's the little moments that we share. Happy, yeah. Let the stars, let the roll. Outside was born to be happy. Lead me to where I belong. Outside was born to be happy.
Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina.
Okay, so I mean, that's one of the commercials I remember very well, and that in a way spoke to the North to a large degree, if I remember very well. I hope you can still see me.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I also recall that there was a last bit in that, even though that was not the only thing that we shared. I recall that we had something for Children's Day later, but I don't have that. I mean, we're not going to play that now. But there was one other one which was really funny, really wacky. I mean, these are things we take for granted. And if I'm not wrong, that would be That'll be the stuff for
Maltina, share.
So the last 2 years, if I remember, yeah, last year. So I'm going to play last year now.
It's the little things that brightens your life. It's the little moments that we share. Happy, yeah. Let the stars, let the road.
Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina. Maltina, share happiness.
So we did this for 1 year, I know. But it was not just all about, the commercials. Before I go on to the next phase of this, I'd like to hear from Ngozi and maybe Jumoke as well. So how did this fare with the consumers? Did it resonate, the idea of happiness seen from this point of view? Did it make any difference? Ngozi?
Well, I will start with internally, because the internal consumer, which is the employees, my first consumer.
Yeah.
And it went really well. Really, really, really well. Internally, people liked it. You couldn't watch at least 3 of the pieces without having one that related to you.
Mm.
Either your son and someone had a beard, or as a woman you understood, and so on and so forth. From the consumer point of view, I believe that we got a lot of positive sentiment on social media, with a lot of people engaging with this content online. So yes, so far in fact, I think we won an award somewhere.
Yes.
Jumoke?
Yes, we won an award for it last year. I can't remember which one on top of my head now, but yes.
Let's talk about
Life Awards. Yes.
Okay.
Life Awards.
Okay, lovely. Let's talk about the music. What is it about the music? This is original music, I believe. I mean, how did we get here? Everybody's smiling. Music is beginning to play a very big role in both campaigns. Yeah. So let's talk about the music.
And it breaks my heart now, because I wish it was a little more upbeat now that I think about it.
Oh.
But I'm not going to fast forward.
No, there are other versions of that song, I know. I mean, there's one that's a little bit, with higher tempo.
Yeah, so I think it was a little bit upbeat, but we used it for kiddies events. So any events that we had, engagement events for kids and sing and dance to, yes. So
I think this kind of worked for the stories that we were telling, but of course that music also has other versions. So that kind of worked for it.
Who made it? Jumoke, who was the...
Soul Tracker. It was Oscar. It was Oscar who did it, yes. Oscar. And I remember Ngozi pushing us really hard to get this right. So I remember that before we got to this, we had produced one, which we shared, and she was like, yeah, it's just the regular Pangolo music that everybody would hear and just miss. And we needed to look at the core of the brand and then just come up with something that everybody listens to and it just sticks to them. And I bet you, at the time when we listened to the first edits for this, it just stuck. You just realize that once you've played it once, everybody in the office just kept singing it from the top of their head, and they're like, happy, yeah. It was, so it was really fun working on that music with Oscar.
Yeah, and it's very important to note the Hausa version of the song. I think that's my favorite.
Fantastic.
I love the Hausa version.
I don't have that here.
That's actually my favorite.
But I mean, the beauty of that, I mean, back to Ngozi wishing this well with higher tempo, is that I think that's where the difference is also. There's a whole lot of high energy in that category. I mean, there's a segment on CNN today which is about calmness, so 30 seconds of calmness. And it's just like, slow it down. There's a whole lot of activities and talk and negativity going on. Can we just like detox a little bit? It kind of did that, as it were. But it's also possible that it can evolve over time. It can be anything, but I think it did its job more than anything else. I'll tell you one of the other things that I love about it is the way we were able to take it beyond just normal traditional media, going into out of home in different directions. I remember going to Abuja once, and I could see from where I was, I could see the gangway that had, happiness is so and so. And I felt very happy. I felt very proud that, hey, that's our message.
Yeah. I actually want to talk about that, the Avio, the bridge, the walk bridge.
Yes.
The airport branding.
Yes.
And I remember when that became available, they said, oh, Abuja, again, we know that over 50-60% of Maltina's volume comes from the north. Right? So we also need to be careful so that we don't come too hip and you lose the core, which is quite a conservative north, even though they're modernizing now. So when that space became available, naturally they're like, oh, Maltina. And they said, oh yeah, the new Maltina campaign, everybody loved the campaign as it was. And they said, can you put this campaign on this site? So when we spoke to agency, we said, guys, there's such an opportunity, happiness in the little things. What are those other little things that we're all talking about on digital that we wanted to do? And so what I like about this campaign is how it was able to transcend from
how scalable it was.
Yeah. Exactly, very scalable. And so we said talking about happiness is finding a charger. Oh my God, that charging point.
Charging point.
So I'm going to just share my screen now again and show you what those things translated to. So happiness is flight upgrade. Nobody will say no to an upgrade. So happiness is no queue at the check-in counter. It's still relevant to the airport. Happiness is finding a charging spot. So a couple of them. Happiness is free Wi-Fi. Who doesn't love free Wi-Fi? Quite a lot of things in that. I remember. So that to me is the beauty of any idea, that it can transcend just one particular channel and move on to other and make us smile. One thing I've observed, even being part of it here, we're all smiling, we're all happy. And I think that's what we expect from our audience as well. And I'm almost certain that's what they've been doing all along. So now, it's important that we see how we relate this to where things are today. If it's a strong idea, if it's really sustainable, how do you extend that? What's the relevance of happiness, in the world of COVID-19, lockdown, post-lockdown, half lockdown, and what have you? How do you see that, Ngozi, going forward? How do we take this forward? I know we did some things tactically in that regard, but how relevant is this message of happiness when people are so uncertain about everything?
Let me already apologize because I'm having work done at home, so there's
no problem.
Banging in the background. It's a difficult one, Lanre, because no one can explain COVID or that this was going to happen and the way that people are feeling. And they're, I was in the trade recently in Mebiesala, so Iju Ishaga, Lagos North. I just came out from Ibadan today. And people are not very hopeful because of, not necessarily because of COVID actually, but because of what COVID has caused. So in Ibadan, nobody's wearing a face mask. They're going about their lives, but their lives have been affected. However, the core of that they're still finding jokes, that they're still looking for little ways. And that's why I'm coming to that. So it's so relevant now that there are no big things anymore. So those big things, the Owambe, they don't exist. And so now you're forced by force.
Yes.
By force.
Yes.
So I think
a lot of us are having to reflect on what life is all about, really. That's the beauty of where we are.
Now more than ever, now we're to come back with a more relatable, find happiness in the little things. This is the time. The little things now become, I don't know what they are for COVID, but the fact that EPL is back, even though there are no fans in the stadium.
No fans. But we still have sound effects of fans.
No sound effects of fans. I saw that.
They can do with where you are.
I think it's very relevant, and that is the benefit of a campaign that was on insight.
Beautiful. And talking about that, I'm going to share briefly just now what we did in that period of the lockdown and all of that. And it's also speaking to, just like the EPL and the sound effects, speaking to what do you do when you have limited choices of what you can do. The campaign was supposed to be, all human elements and what have you, but we ended up doing something that's entirely to make up for where we are. I'll just share that now, and we'll come back to talking about taking this forward as an idea. Just now, so we did a couple of things for people at home, trying to reflect their new life and how they're living. So, it's talking about where the reality is. Make light of it. Don't think too seriously. Accept your situation as it were, and you'll be happy. So the relevance is still there. So second one is just one more. Okay, can relate to this, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the last in that regard. It's amazing that we still find pockets of humor, in the midst of where we are. Mothers in the house, how do you relate with some of these things?
This is actually, that's my life. So looking at this now, just I have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old, and every night I have to play hide and seek, whether I like it or not, whether I am tired or I am exhausted. My kids will wait for me once I close my laptop. And they're like, oh, mommy, are you done with the day? Like, no meetings for today. It's our time now. We need to do hide and seek, irrespective of the fact that we've run out of hiding spaces in the house. We still have to do hide and seek every night. So I can relate to that mommy, and the material about playing, at least just having some fun with the kids. Because most times we'll tell ourselves, oh, we work so hard, you are in the office, you don't have time to spend with them. Before COVID, I would leave my kids in the morning. By the time I come back at night, they are asleep. So the only time they see me is usually in the mornings. But we've been stuck together for 3 months now, and I know you can imagine that.
I can see.
Yeah.
So, Ngozi, let's talk about a topic I'm sure most of the people out there, and I think Lizzie and Jumoke can chip in. Sitting here, not because I'm involved or I'm part of. I'm part of it, and I'm not part of it as well. I'm sure you don't see so much of me, on the business. You see more of the other guys. How do we achieve happiness in client-agency relationships? I can see some bonding. I can see. You guys seem to speak the same language. Well, it's not always like this, from my experience in the advertising business. So but it is the ideal really that there's some kind of, understanding and level of happiness working on this, because advertising, marketing can be exhausting for client, for agency. So how do you achieve this, taking it from when you engage the agency and where we are now?
I think the first word that I would use is trust and openness. Again, when we started working with Noah's Arck, I knew nobody there.
True.
It's weird because that usually doesn't happen. But we didn't know anyone at the agency, and we were looking for freshness and the style that you guys had. Even though that's that we need to rejig it right now, but we'll talk about that another day. But where we are is because of trust and openness. Jumoke is on my WhatsApp now, and we're always chatting back and forth. I feel like I pick up the phone and call Ayo and just say, hey, dude, this and this and this, I'm not very happy. You know what I mean? But then trust and openness, yes, but at the core of it all is the functional competency that the agency has. Let me say something, Am. Sometimes you excel not because of what you're doing, but because of what somebody else is not doing. So we found that with Noah's Arck, they always went the extra mile. Agency is up, they're ready to go to Kaduna because we need to go and get the research. Yeah. We need to go and understand what's going on. We need to travel to these parts of town. So we also saw a commitment. And once that happens, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't fault them because you were carried along. Before, at a point, I was like, if Jumoke sends me a message one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. But, you know, and another thing I was going to talk about is, so there's trust, there's openness, and there's the fact that the agency they know what they're doing and they're open to take correction. Sometimes, you know, it's like, oh, I'm pulling here, but you guys, you need to get it. Another thing is being true to who you are. Okay. A lot of agencies don't get that. Like, I feel like if I needed to write the DNA of Noah's Arck, I could write it. Because there was always this, so he opened the and he opened the bottle and then the bottle and then and Elizabeth is like, so and Elizabeth, and so mommy, what the hell is going on? But it worked. It worked because then you were engaged. You know what I mean? And that is very true to Noah's Arck. So for me, the happiness is a medley of trust and openness and the fact that you know your job and the fact that when Noah's Arck is coming, if I have things I need to attend to, I will attend to them before I come into the meeting because you don't have a choice. They will distract you. You will listen to Elizabeth. The agencies that when they call, while they're presenting, you just quickly, let me just check these things. With these people here, you put your phone down because you have to listen. You know?
Interesting. So let's hear from the agency point of view. I mean, what has it been like on this? I mean, because it's almost been like smooth sailing from pitching needs, executing needs, and running needs, and all that. You know, Elizabeth.
Let me speak. What? Well, I remember the first time when we presented ideas to Ngozi. It's very hard. Actually, let me speak from the creative side. As creatives, so you present stuff to clients and they're like, I'm not sure people will get it. Or, you know, and you can't present things that are cheesy, what we call cheesy. You know, some things you present, like she feels it's a little too cheesy. I'm like, really? Client is saying something is really cheesy? Because sometimes it seems to be them wanting to make you, you know, and that was really great. For us, you can't send cheesy stuff. You can't present cheesy stuff. Because if you like, you know, she's very expressive. And before she even says anything, you already know what she wants to say. I'm like, And someone that can give you concrete and critical feedback. For me, that's it. If there's an issue, point out the issue so we can work on that. So that's one of the things I would say. I'm like, so if we are going for a bit, I'm like, I hope Ngozi is going to be there. You know, so you know, it's so I like that, the fact that you can't just go and present the usual cheesy stuff. I'm like, and then you watch TV and you see, I'm like, people get this thing, but she say, no, I don't want, she always wants the best. You know, she tasks us a lot and she teases us a lot. And you're like, this is not exactly, you can't. So I appreciate that a lot, you know, in clients. Like that.
Lovely. So what's the future of this platform going forward? And you alluded to something earlier, Ngozi, about, you talked about it. I don't always like when people say you have a style of working. I mean, personally, in my experience, I don't think we should have a style. We should have a discipline of working, and meaning that I can do just about anything. But going forward, what's the future of this for you? We're getting close to wrapping this up before we take one line from people.
Well, we know that happiness is here to stay. We're not going away from that. Mm-hmm. And the agency knows some of the exciting things that we're already working on. But the future is energy dialing up a little bit.
Okay.
And the reason is simple. Again, as we start to evolve as partners and the consumer continues to evolve, we see that malt has just kind of lulled. You know, It's a brown, dark liquid. We need to find a way to make it mean more to the younger people. And the reason for this is because research showed us that the younger consumers are switching now more to soft drinks and other adjacent categories. You know, growing up malt now, okay? So if we're gonna mean something to the people who are coming up and getting their own buying power, we need to adjust things a little bit. The things that interest me don't interest my 14-year-old. Why would he drink malt? And Maltina is poised as the market leader to do that. So the future is that happiness is still important, but what does happiness mean to a 16-year-old?
Interesting. So I'm going to just let, starting from Jumoke, Elizabeth, and Ngozi will be the last. Just, what would you say, one-liners, your final words on our topic of finding happiness as regards this brand, as regards, what we do, advertising, marketing, going forward, and the relevance of that to our world today. So, Jumoke, one word?
Okay, so I think it's basically finding happiness in everything that we do, in our day-to-day work, in our relationship with the clients, with the brands that we work on. It's basically finding those happy moments and dialing them up, irrespective of what's around us and what's happening at the moment. Everybody just needs to have that happiness quotient up, basically. So we need to be happy, irrespective. Just stay happy and find
positivity. Yeah.
So just be positive. You hear a lot of bad news, you hear a lot of things, but just find happiness in the little things. Just find happiness.
Okay.
That's it from me.
For me, I think happiness is really being true to yourself. I think Ngozi alluded to that earlier. And for instance, if you check some of those digital COVID materials, for me, it was almost like a continuation of, the campaign we had last year. The woman being in pajamas and not necessarily, I can't remember the last time I dressed up. So being true to yourself for me, more than anything, because that's who we are at our core. Nobody really wants to be indoors and be all dressed up. So really, stripping it bare, I think it comes to that. It's really about being true to yourself and not being, going all out, being all pretentious about anything for me. That's because I'm very real. So that's what I'll say.
Lovely. So from NG, final words?
I want to follow up from what Elizabeth said, and for you, because you're real and chill. For some people, being true to themselves and finding happiness at home is dressing up and wearing all those dresses that I haven't been able to wear in a long time, and applying a full face of makeup, not me, by the way, them. But that's happiness for them. So for me, my final words is that happiness is a journey, and it's continuous every day, especially now that people are just going. And you wake up tomorrow morning and someone else is gone, and you wake up tomorrow morning and someone else is gone, but the journey continues. And as long as we're here anyway, why not?
Lovely. So I'm going to end this on the note of music, because you did have something to say about the music. I think this is the reggae version of the music.
Yeah.
This makes us feel good as we wrap up this session. Feel free to shake your head to it, to do whatever. This happy session of the Picture Awards. So let's be happy. More danceable.
It's the little things that brighten your life. It's the little moments that we share. Nobody knows what happens tomorrow, but every day you gotta be grateful for the little things. If you don't fall, nobody always so shy. If you don't good today, no one have like tomorrow go better. Let the stars, let the road. Cause I was born to be happy. Take me to where I belong. Cause I want to be happy. Let the road, let the stars take me to where I belong. Cause I was born to be happy. Cause I was born to be happy.
So that's it. Thank you so much. I think we've had some great fun doing this. Thank you, Ngozi. It's been wonderful having you. I'm looking forward to the next phase of the campaign. Lizzie, our very happy, energetic copywriter on the account, and Jumoke, who's been the mother hen, getting everybody together on this. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for me, everyone at home, it's been wonderful being here with you. Enjoy the rest of the festival. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.